Hi everyone! This video course will focus on teaching you Korean by learning with many different forms of BTS content such as songs, Run BTS, Bangtanbombs, etc. While watching these videos, you will learn Korean and gradually start understanding what the members are saying. I really hope that this way of studying will be more engaging and more rewarding than the traditional way of cramming behind a grammar and vocab book. While you don't need to know any Korean words or grammar in order to begin learning with this video, please make sure that you're confident in reading Hangul beforehand. With that being said, let's get started! Welcome to the Purple Academy. My name is Mimi and I will be your host during this journey. Since this is our first lesson, we need to cover some general information about the Korean culture first, which will be very helpful in understanding certain aspects of the language, such as titles, honorifics, and polite language. Age is very important in the Korean culture. Even certain manners, for example, drinking manners, change according to your age and the age of the people you're drinking with. The Korean language itself is affected by age as well. I am not talking about how you might treat people who are a few decades older more respectfully and maybe even address them as sir or ma'am. In Korea, even an age difference of a single year means that you cannot treat that person casually. That's why it is quite common to ask a person about their age when meeting them for the first time. If you are born in the same year as another person, you are considered 친구, which are same-aged friends. Jimin and Taehyung, for example, are 친구. Being born in the same year means you can talk to another without honorifics, as long as you are not strangers. If the person you are talking to is born in the previous year, you are not considered 친구 and need to use honorifics.
호주는 나이를 약간 한두 살 차이는 그냥 친구?
한국만 그래요.
한국만 그래?
네, 한국만 그래요.
그래도 그 선이 있을 거 아니야?
아니요, 저는 호주랑 미국에 있을 때는요, 진짜 30살 넘는 사람이 있어도 그냥 친구를 이렇게 할 수 있어요.
그럼
우리 친구를 할 수 있어요.
우리 둘이 친구?
Yes.
난 안 되겠는데?
In BTS, the younger members almost never refer to one of the older members just by their name.
반말하지 마라. 아까 이런 얘.
Instead, they add suffixes like 시 and 님, or titles like 형. Even Yoongi addresses Jin with 형, despite only being 3 months younger. Of course, there are certain exceptions, but in general, it is good to remember to not address a person that is older by simply their name or the Korean equivalent of you. Instead, you address them by their position or your relation to them. For example, Mr. Lawyer, Miss Doctor, older sister, etc. This way of speaking can sometimes make it sound like you're talking about someone in the third person, when you are actually directly addressing them. It might be a bit difficult to get used to. Apart from names and titles, which we will learn more about in the future, there are different levels of formality and politeness in the Korean language. Sentence and mostly verb endings change according to those levels. In general, the Korean language can be divided into formal language, 존댓말, and informal language, 반말. When it comes to grammar, Korean follows the sentence structure of subject plus object plus verb. This is different from the English language that follows the subject plus verb plus object order. For example, instead of saying I eat apples, like you would in English, using the Korean word order, you would say I apples eat instead, kind of like Yoda. Now, let's take a look at how to use the verb to be in the present tense. Small reminder, a verb is a word that describes an action or state, for example, to hear, to become, to happen, etc. Since endings of verbs determine the level of formality and politeness of speech, I will introduce them gradually during this course. For now, we will go with the formal polite and informal polite styles that are relatively easy to learn. Korean verbs always end in ta in their basic dictionary form. When the verb is conjugated, the word stem does not change, and ta is replaced with a different ending. With all of that background knowledge covered, let's get into actually studying Korean.
안녕. 미미예요. BTS예요. 아미, 아미예요. 윤기, 윤기예요. 석진, 석진이에요. 호석, 호석이에요. 정국, 정국이에요.
정국이에요. 정국이에요. 정국이에요.
방탄소년단, 방탄소년단이에요. 네, 아미예요. 아미예요. 네, 아미예요. 저예요. 누구, 누구예요? 슈가예요. 누구예요? 뷔예요. 누구예요? RM이에요. 누구예요? 제이홉이에요. 미미야. BTS야. 아미야. 방탄소년단이야. 지민. 지민이야. 태형. 태형이야. 남준. 누구야? 남준이야. 나야.
꼴찌 누구야?
꼴찌 누구야? 저요, 저.
꼴찌 누구야?
꼴찌 누구야? 저요, 저.
꼴찌 누구야?
꼴찌 누구야? 저요, 저.
미국. 미국이에요. 한국. 한국이에요. 사람. 사람이에요. 미국 사람. 미국 사람이에요. 한국 사람. 한국 사람이에요. 남자. 남자예요. 남자예요? 네, 남자예요. 여자. 여자예요. 친구. 친구예요. 남자친구. 남자친구예요. 여자친구. 여자친구예요. 남친. 남친이에요. 여친. 여친이에요. 목이에요. 소리. 소리예요. 목소리. 목소리예요. 손이에요. 손목. 손목이에요. 눈이에요. 눈사람. 눈사람이에요. 물이에요. 눈물이에요. 말이에요. 한국말이에요. 한국어예요. 과학이에요. 선생님이에요. 과학선생님이에요.
예전에 과학 되게 좋아하시다고.
맞습니다. 저 과학 선생님이에요 오늘.
오.
근데 저 과학 선생님이에요 오늘.
오.
근데 저 과학 선생님이에요 오늘.
오.
무엇, 뭐예요? 무엇이에요? 뭐예요? 손이에요. 뭐예요? 사람이에요. 뭐예요? 하트예요.
토마토. 파인애플. 토마토. 파인애플.
뭐야? 게임이야.
요.
형 뭐예요?
나 스카.
형 뭐예요?
나 스카. 요.
형 뭐예요?
나 스카.
Let's revise our first Korean grammar pattern, to be. The Korean verb for to be is ida in its dictionary form. You put ida behind a noun or a name. Small reminder, a noun is a word that represents a person, a thing, a concept, or a place. It may be helpful to keep in mind that you can put articles like the or a in front of nouns. Examples of nouns include the house, a person, the sound, etc. The final consonant at the end of a Korean syllable is called a 받침. The verb ida is conjugated differently depending on whether or not the noun coming before ida ends in a 받침. If the noun in front of ida ends in a 받침, you attach ieo or ia to the end of said noun. If the noun in front of ida does not end in a 받침 and ends in a vowel instead, you attach yeo or ya to the end of the noun. For our second grammar point, we will take a look at particles, aka markers. Particles are attached to the end of nouns in order to set the function of the noun in the sentence. For example, there are topic, subject, and object particles. In the spoken language, these particles can sometimes be omitted when they are not necessary in order to understand the meaning of the sentence. This is not correct in the written language, and as beginners, let's just learn the proper grammar first before breaking the rules. In this first lesson, we will focus only on the topic marker and the subject marker, since they are very common. Since they do not exist in the English language and the difference between the topic and the subject marker is quite difficult to understand, I will provide a simplified explanation for now. The topic marker, 는, tells you the topic or the main character of a sentence or a conversation. The topic will stay the same and does not have to be mentioned in the following sentences to be implied. The topic of conversation only changes once a different noun is declared the new subject or topic. Example: 석진은 is standing on stage with a microphone, is singing a song, waves to an army in the crowd. Because we know that Seokjin is the topic of this conversation, we don't have to keep mentioning him in the following sentences. If we want to talk about someone or something else, we have to set them as the new topic. For example, the 아미는 is smiling and waves back. Plans to tell her friends about this moment tomorrow. 는 also emphasizes the information that is given about the noun. The subject marker, ik, on the other hand, tells you about the subject of the verb in a sentence. Ik also emphasizes the noun that it is attached to, so it emphasizes who or what is doing something. For example, 태형이 is looking at the camera. In this case, 태형 is the subject of the verb looking. The usage of the subject marker ik in this case emphasizes that 태형 is the one who is looking at the camera and no one else. If we were to use the topic marker 는, we would say 태형은 is looking at the camera. This is correct as well, but in this case, the action of looking at a camera is what is emphasized, instead of who is doing the action. And if we were to continue talking, 태형 would stay the topic of conversation, which is not the case in the first sentence. I know this is all very confusing to hear, but these topic and subject markers are used very often in the Korean language, so I am sure that you will develop a feeling for these particles with time. So don't worry too much.
윤기는 한국 사람이에요. 남자예요. 윤기가 남자예요. 윤기가 한국 사람이에요. 남자예요. 누가 남자예요? 가수. 가수예요. 막내. 막내예요. 정국은 가수예요. 막내예요. 정국이 막내예요. 정국이 가수예요. 막내예요. 누가 막내예요? 댄서. 댄서예요. 아이돌. 아이돌이에요. 지민은 댄서예요. 아이돌이에요. 지민이 아이돌이에요. 지민이 댄서예요. 아이돌이에요. 누가 아이돌이에요? 곰. 곰이에요. 미미는 곰이에요. 아미예요. 미미가 아미예요. 미미가 곰이에요. 아미예요. 누가 아미예요? 리더. 리더예요. 누가 리더예요? RM이 리더예요. 누가 어거스트 D예요? 슈가가 어거스트 D예요. 누구예요? 저는 미미예요. 아미예요. 누가 미미예요? 제가 미미예요. 누구야? 나는 미미야. 아미야. 누가 미미야? 내가 미미야. 이름. 미미는 이름이에요. 이름은 뭐예요? 미미예요. 여러분, 이름이 뭐예요? 마지막. 마지막이에요.
비용도 갔어요? 네. 아, 비용 맞췄어? 아, 내가 마지막이에요? 아, 내가 마지막이에요? 아, 내가 마지막이에요?
Now let's revise our second Korean grammar pattern, 은, 는, and, 이, 하. The topic marker 은, 는 declares the noun it is attached to as the topic or quote-unquote main character of the sentence or the following conversation. The topic does not have to be mentioned in the following sentences in order to be implied. The topic of conversation only changes once a different noun is declared the new topic. Compared to 이, 가, 은, 는 puts emphasis on the following information instead of the noun it is attached to. If the noun ends in a 받침, you attach 은 to its end. If the noun does not end in a 받침 and ends in a vowel instead, you attach 는. The subject marker 이, 가 is attached to the subject of the verb in a sentence and emphasizes who or what is the actor of the specific verb. Compared to 은, 는, 이, 가 puts emphasis on the noun itself that it is attached to instead of the information given about the noun. If the noun ends in a 받침, you attach 이 to the end of said noun. If the noun does not end in a 받침 and ends in a vowel instead, you attach 가.
네. 아니요. 아니야. 윤기예요. 네, 윤기예요. 윤기예요. 아니요, 윤기가 아니에요. 남준이에요. 이름이 호석이에요. 네, 호석이에요. 이름이 호석이에요. 아니요, 호석이 아니에요. 이름은 석진이에요. 여자예요? 아니요. 여자가 아니에요. 남자예요. 지민은 막내예요? 아니요, 막내가 아니에요. 정국은 막내예요. 래퍼. 래퍼예요. 태형은 래퍼야? 아니야. 태형이 래퍼가 아니야. 가수야. 고양이. 고양이예요. 강아지. 강아지예요. 장난. 장난이에요.
아미 아니에요? 아미?
아미 맞아.
아미 아니에요? 아미 아니에요? 아미?
여기 지금 장난 아니에요. 여기 지금 장난 아니에요. 여기 지금 장난 아니에요.
아니야. 강아지야, 강아지.
고양이 아니야?
아니야. 강아지야, 강아지.
고양이 아니야?
아니야. 강아지야, 강아지.
고양이 아니야?
Let's revise our third Korean grammar pattern, 이, 가, 아니다. The Korean verb for to not be is 아니다 in its dictionary form. You attach the subject marker, 이, 가, to the noun, emphasizing who or what is not doing something, and follow it with 아니다. If the noun ends in a 받침, you attach 이 아니에요 or 이 아니야 to the end of said noun. If the noun does not end in a 받침 and ends in a vowel instead, you attach 가 아니에요 or 가 아니야.
하다. 말. 하다. 말하다. 사랑. 사랑이에요. 사랑. 하다. 사랑하다. 해요. 말하다. 말해요. 말해. 사랑하다. 사랑해요. 사랑해.
사랑해요 누나. 사랑해요 누나. 사랑해요 누나.
윤기야, 사랑해, 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 사랑해.
생각. 생각이에요. 생각하다. 생각해요. 생각해. 어떻게 생각해요? 한국어 말해요. 네, 한국어 말해요. 노래. 노래예요. 노래하다. 태형은 노래해요. 가수예요. 석진도 가수예요. 지민도 가수예요. 정국도 가수예요. 시작. 시작이에요. 시작하다. 시작해요.
그거 어떻게 시작해요?
시작했어요.
그거 어떻게 시작해요? 그거 어떻게 시작해요?
끝. 끝이에요. 끝이 아니에요. 시작이에요.
래머과 정국이 로그 끝. 오케이. 끝. 사랑해요. 사랑해요 여러분. 끝. 안녕.
보라색. 보라색이에요. 보라하다. 보라해요.
나 보라색이에요. 보라해, 보라해, 보라해.
좋아하다. 좋아해요. 미안하다. 미안해요. 죄송하다. 죄송해요. 용서하다. 용서해요.
미안해 사랑해 용서해 미안해 사랑해 용서해 미안해 사랑해 용서해
네. 예.
아레마 너 임마.
저요. 예, 죄송해요.
아레마 너 임마.
저요. 예, 죄송해요.
아레마 너 임마.
저요. 예, 죄송해요.
기억. 기억이에요. 기억하다. 기억해요.
그때 기억해 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 그때 기억해
중요하다. 중요해요.
힌트 중요해요. 가장 중요해요. 힌트 중요해요. 가장 중요해요. 힌트 중요해요. 가장 중요해요.
궁금하다. 궁금해요. 너무. 너무 궁금해요. 정말. 말.
나 정말 너무 궁금해 나 정말 너무 궁금해 나 정말 너무 궁금해 나 정말 너무 궁금해 나 정말 너무 궁금해
답. 답이에요. 정답. 정답이에요. 잘하다. 잘해요. 가위바위보. 가위바위보예요.
태영 씨 정답.
와 진짜. 야 태영아.
재영 정답.
오케이. 자 마지막. 안 내면 지금 가위바위보. 아야.
나. 가위바위보. 가위바위보.
야 태영이 근데 잘한다. 오야 잘해.
태영 씨 정답.
와 진짜. 야 태영아.
재영 정답.
오케이. 자 마지막. 안 내면 지금 가위바위보. 아야.
나. 가위바위보. 가위바위보.
야 태영이 근데 잘한다. 오우야, 잘해.
Let's revise our fourth and last Korean grammar pattern for today, 하다. 하다 is the Korean verb for to do. When 하다 is attached to nouns that are loanwords, primarily from the Chinese and English language, it turns the noun into a verb. Sometimes 하다 is attached to native Korean nouns in the same way as well, but it is less common. Regardless of whether or not the noun ends in a 받침, 하다 is always attached to turn it into a verb. 하다 was originally conjugated as 하여요, which isn't used in today's language anymore. Instead, 하여요 has been shortened into 해요. While using 반말, you simply drop the 요 and only add 해 to the noun. Congrats everyone! You made it to the end! 수업 끝! Please feel free to watch this video more than once because I'm assuming you cannot remember all of the vocabulary and all of the grammar that we've covered today in a single go. So you can also use this video as a way to review. Also, if you notice any mistakes that I made in this video, please let me know so that I can correct it. And I would also be very happy to receive feedback from you guys, no matter if it's praise or critique, I don't mind. So please let me know what you think. I don't know all that much about video making yet, so please let me know how I can improve. Also, I hope you can keep in mind that I am not fluent in Korean and I'm still a beginner myself, so I might make some mistakes along the way, but I'm trying my best to double check all of the information that I'm giving you, so hopefully there's not too many mistakes. Now for the most exciting part, in today's video you guys have learned a total of, drum rolls, 87 words, as well as 5 different grammar concepts, so good job guys. You should give yourself a pat on the back. And 여러분 한국말 너무 잘해요. Good job. Also, don't forget to check out the lesson overview, which I have linked in the description. It contains all of the vocab and all of the grammar that we've covered today, so be sure to use that while you review our lessons. And if you have any questions about any of the stuff today, don't be shy. I would be very happy to talk to you. And yeah, that's it for today. See you next time, hopefully. And with that, 안녕!